All right, we're going live. Welcome. Happy Friday. This is the Friday before a very big holiday that you may be familiar with. And we're doing another installment of Get a Clue in... Oh, wait, go live? Yeah, it should go live. It looks like we're going live. All right. Just a little error message there. Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. I'm coming to you from a different location today. I'm in Las Vegas, house sitting for a friend of mine, Brian Trachel. Shout out to Brian Trachel. And in my haste to get to Las Vegas, I forgot to bring a copy of my own book. So here I am. We're ready to do tip number 51 today overall. So we got today and we've got next week. This is Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. And so what I'm going to have to do is like screen share and bring up the digital copy of, in fact, Microsoft Word copy of the book instead of holding up the actual physical book. I packed all of these things to get to Vegas, and I actually forgot my book. So just as a point of review, the 5 categories that were covered this year. Let me go ahead and bring up the banners, and that'll help me communicate all of this. First of all, welcome. All right, to Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included, and these tips books that I've been doing the last couple of years. We've got another one in store for 2024. It's going to be Get a Clue in 52 for speakers. They're all categorical. They all have 5 categories in them. So in the original Get a Clue in 52, it was a practical guide for expanding self and business. The categories were networking, sales, marketing, communication, and accountability. Then the second edition of Get a Clue in 52 we did was the entrepreneur edition. So those 5 categories were personal branding, business acumen, business ownership, leadership and influence, and work-life balance. Then this year, we got to Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. So at the beginning of this year, we started with 11 tips from the section on self-promotion. We learn how to become a coach. We get familiar calling ourselves a coach or comfortable. Other people referring to us as a coach. We go tell the world that we're a coach or we can coach. And then we're on our way to getting coaching clients. But that was the second section of our book, 9 tips on how do we secure clients? How do we get people to enroll in our coaching programs? Or if we're a leader inside of an organization, how do we secure engagement? How do we get people engaged in what they're doing? So engagement, enrollment, we had 9 tips on how to secure that permission to lead. Once they've given permission to lead, then it's a very simple formula. Motivation plus accountability equals results. So we went through 10 tips on how do we provide motivation? How do we increase motivation? How do we tap into motivation, unlock motivation? It's very simple. There's a million ways we could do it, but they all fall into 2 categories. Either we're giving somebody strategies, tactics, and resources that they didn't have before, or better strategies and tactics and resources than what they had before, or we're getting people out of their own way. So it's either an external motivator, a strategy, a tactic, or a resource, or an internal motivator. Like I like to say, a checkup from the neck up, if you will. Mindset, motivation, limiting beliefs, empowering alternatives, intervening and stinking thinking, etc. And so once we've got engagement and once we've got people motivated, then it's accountability. So again, accountability is something I'm talking about a lot in so many endeavors in my work. And so these tips actually showed up in the first edition of Get a Clue in 52, and they got repurposed, a little repositioning of the content, treated a little bit differently for this context of providing accountability as a coach or somebody that's an aspiring and emerging coach or a leader that wants coaching skills in your toolbox. It's a different approach to the concepts of accountability than just when we're looking at it in our own lives, right? When we're a leader, when we're a coach, when we have direct reports, when we have to provide accountability, when we have to confront others, it's a different perspective. So we laid out 10 tips on accountability. And that got us to where we are now. Well, sort of. It was 10 weeks ago, but we're in our final section of this book on practice building. And this has been fun for me because I really am repositioning or repurposing a module from my coaching and leadership training called Org Chart 101. And the argument here for this entire section of 12 tips is that if your business, and I say quote unquote, because the fun that I'm having is having fun not calling it a business, being super, super honest and jovial in my honesty about the fact that I don't consider my business a business. I consider it a practice. So practice building. But still, if your income earning hobby or your monetizable skill set or your income earning hobby or your practice or your thriving practice isn't yet where you want it to be as a business, or if it's having hiccups or fits or starts or pain anywhere along that progression, from a monetizable skill set to income earning hobby to practice to thriving practice to business, anywhere along that growth path, if you're stuck, if you're overwhelmed, if you're in pain, if you're not seeing the results that you want, my argument is we've got 12 places we can look. Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? Org Chart 101 is a very simple approach to helping us understand the 12 accountabilities, basic accountabilities that all businesses must meet. So if your business isn't growing, if your business is in pain, chances are you're not doing a really wonderful job meeting one of these 12 accountabilities. So let's review those real quick, and we'll get into number 11 in this section today, which is number 51, tip number 51 overall. So first of all, we talked about the fee of feasibility, paying the fee of feasibility. Let me look real quick. Yeah, no, I'm ready to pull this up in screen share on the Microsoft Word. So pay the fee of feasibility. First of all, a lot of people see the online pictures or the posts or any of the how should I say, the lure of the coaching lifestyle. I get to set my own schedule. I'm flexible. I get to make money helping people, right? But what we want you to really understand is that that's a very small percentage of what really goes on when you're trying to grow a business. So you have to understand the amount of responsibility, the amount of accountabilities, all the other work other than just providing coaching, just the coaching session. There's so many other things that happen, right? So is it worth it? Is it worth the effort? Is it worth the risk? Is it worth the fits, the starts, the frustrations, the all of the things that we talked about in this tip, from imposter syndrome to any of the other things that can come up that aren't glamorous, right, behind the scenes of building a coaching practice. So you have to be real about, I just remembered what I'm giving. Let me give you one example without referring to the tip. Working from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m, dealing with some family time for 3 hours, and then working from 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the morning to get my coaches training drafted. All the content and all the curriculum for my coaches training. That's part of it. Working late hours and flexible schedules and negotiating with the spouse on whose career is more important versus who stops what they're doing to take care of kids. I mean, all of these things are really important considerations. It's not just the glamour of the moment that you're providing coaching, which is great. It's like a wonderful feeling to be in the moment with somebody providing coaching. But there's so many things that happen on the way to that. Is it worth it? Is this the life you want? What life do you want? How much money does it take to get that life? Can this practice business give you the life you want? First of all, the amount of money to afford the things that you want, but the ways that you're spending your time on a day-to-day basis. It's one of the reasons that I stopped short. I mean, I'm going to give you all these reasons why I stopped short of calling my business a business, because I know, I'm very honest, that I'm not meeting all of the accountabilities that businesses need met, right? So I call it a thriving practice, but there was times where it was just a monetizable skill set. There was times where it was just an income earning hobby, right? And even though it's a thriving practice, it doesn't always thrive. So I want to make sure you understand, pay the fee of feasibility, do the work to find out, is it worth it to have or to build or to grow or to run this business? If so, then tip number 2 in this section is to run it then, like grow it and run it, right? You need somebody in that chief operating officer position to make sure marketing runs, sales runs, operations operates, right? And the finances are financial, right? And so you need one person, not 2 people in that box. You need one person that can make the decisions, that can report to the owners of the shareholders, that can have their fingers on the pulse of the different departments and make decisions at a high level and get those things taken care of. So run it, operations. Then we get into the org chart a little bit. And in the image that I have for this, there's 4 departments across underneath the COO, or the chief operating officer, the person that's meeting accountability number 42 or number 2 on the org chart. So we go into the operations. There's 3 accountabilities in operations. One of them is to make sure you have a menu. What's on your menu? So tip number 43 is, can I see a menu? Right? I've been saying this a lot lately, using this analogy a lot when people say, Jeff, nice to meet you. What do you do? What do you offer? What are your services? It's like, well, if I was a restaurant and you came into my restaurant and I handed you a menu, here's what would be on my menu. And one of the arguments I'm making in this tip is that if coaching is the only thing on your menu, you're going to have a hard time growing that into a business, right? We want to be problem solvers, and coaching is one of the ways we can solve problems, but we want other things on our menu. In my case, I have training, I have consulting, I have speaking and facilitation, or info products like books or e-courses. So we want to have a lot of different ways to help people get the information that they need, the support that they need. And so are you updating your menu, improving your menu, adding to your menu, revising your menu, critically confronting your menu, etc.? What's on the menu? What can you sell other than coaching, or is coaching the only thing you sell? Then we get out of operations and we went over into the marketing department for the first of two accountabilities over here. It's very fun, right? Marketing is this it's like the ocean, right, of all businesses. There's millions and millions of things that you have to do and learn and know to be effective and improve at marketing, right? But it all comes down to make it simple to help entrepreneurs, business owners, coaching clients understand it a little easier. Very simple. Info in. We're either bringing information in to the organization, or the next tip, information out. Very simple. Info in, info out. Of course, within those two simple frames, there's a gazillion things that get done. On the info in, we try to make it simple and say you want to bring info in about the marketplace, info in about your competition, info in about your customer. Then when it comes to info out, we have to craft the messaging, headlines that attract, what are the email headlines that are more likely to people open, or what are we putting in our social media posts? What are the links? What's the funnel? Where does our target market go? What channels can we use to get messages to our target market, etc.? And then how does it look? How does it feel? How does it sound? Does it resonate? Does it speak to the listening of the prospects and the buyer? Does it appeal to their self-talk? There's so much psychology around marketing, but very simply, it's an accountability. Are you bringing info in to your organization about the market so that you're smarter about the information that you're putting out into the market? Of course, everything about marketing is to get the anonymous person, John or Jane Doe, to a lead where we know their name, phone number, or email. We have a means of contacting them. And we want to get them from a lead to a prospect when they're aware of who we are and what's on our menu. Then we want to get out of marketing and into sales. And so tip number 46 is sales is a 5-letter word, not a 4-letter word. But we've all had the experience of being sold to poorly. We've all had the experience of feeling trapped or icky or smelling commission breath, where the person is like fake and genuine and, dare I say, dishonest or something else that's off-putting in a sales environment. So we as coaches, we want to help people. We don't want to be salesy. So we have to get out of this mindset that sales is a bad thing just because we've experienced it poorly in our lives, or fear of rejection, or there's a lot of psycho emo around sales, and we've got to break through that. It's simply persuasion. Sales is getting somebody to make a decision that they're not making on their own. They want to make the decision. They have a need. They have a problem. What we have to do is identify the significance of the issue for them, and how big is the issue. What do they believe is preventing them? And then with that awareness, if coaching is the solution, it's our obligation to have them move forward. So what we talked about in the second section of the book, when we got into these 9 tips on engagement or enrollment, it breaks down exactly how I sell coaching, how I devised or crafted my complementary coaching experience to make the sales part much easier, to get over some of my fears or my hesitations or my limiting beliefs about fear of rejection or sounding salesy or being too aggressive or worrying that I want them to be in coaching more than they want to be in coaching, so I can't put too much pressure on to have them have buyer's remorse or regret the decision. I really crafted this approach to complementary coaching to make sure that when somebody enrolls in coaching with me, they want coaching. They know exactly what they're getting. They believe they'll get more value than what they're investing in it, and they know that it is the solution to their problem, or at least one of the solutions to their challenges, their issues, their opportunities, etc. So we broke that down in the second section, but it's one tip in this section because it's one accountability on the org chart. When we're in the sales department, there's only one accountability in sales: convert prospects to clients, convert prospects to leads. Prospects to customers, prospects to clients. You get the idea. But if we're afraid of sales, or if we think it's icky, or if we're afraid of rejection, or we're triggered by some uncomfortable experience that we've had in the past, and we're not clear about the need to sell, we're not honest about the value and the virtue of well done sales done well, then we're going to have a hard time, right, growing our practice into a business. Okay. Now, once they've enrolled in coaching with us, once they've bought in, or once they've got engagement, now we got to deliver. So we get out of sales back into the operations department with the 7th accountability, or the 7th tip in this section. I call it the R&R game, but what it is from an org chart perspective is customer service. The reason I call it the R&R game isn't for rest and relaxation. It's for repeat and referral. We want to deliver our services to the customer so well, so thoughtfully, that they stay with us and continue to be with us over and over and over again, repeat their business with us, and also that they refer others to us, that they become advocates, right? So repeat and referral. Then the third and final accountability that I cover in the operations department is know your surroundings. But it's said another way, it's facilities management. All business takes place somewhere. Right now, I'm at my buddy Brian Trachel's house. It's awesome. Sometimes I'm in my home office. Sometimes I'm at the university club. Sometimes I'm pulled over in my car on the side of the road. Sometimes I'm at a hotel conference room. You get the idea. All business takes place somewhere. Is it a warehouse? Is it a retail shop on a commercial part of town? Is it a loft? Is it parks and recreation? Are you doing business at the beach? Right? All business takes place somewhere. So we want to put some thought into the where that business takes place and craft and construct an experience that people will have when they are in our surroundings, when they arrive at where the business takes place. What's that experience? Do the lights come on? Is there coffee in the lobby? Is there red carpet? How is the temperature in the room? Are there interesting things to look at and read, etc.? The surroundings, and this is a fun tip for me to read because I was reminiscing about all of the places, especially like pulling into a Starbucks to use their Wi-Fi, or pulling into a Starbucks parking lot close enough to the Starbucks to use the Wi-Fi without having to get out of my car and go in and get the competing stimuli and all the noise to really focus on a conference call or a coaching call or whatever it is, right? So humble experiences I've had in my surroundings where I've performed coaching, or I've been studying in my coach's training, or showing up to a webinar that I've invested in to get better at something, right? These things can take place anywhere. I've also, by the way, had my business in my office. I don't recommend that, but I remember starting out, my wife and I lived in a 1,250 square foot home, and it was before our third kid, Brody. We had two small kids in the house, and I remember I joke around and I say the house was so small we had to go outside just to change our minds. So in the little bedroom, there's my office, and it wasn't healthy to have my office in the bedroom for all kinds of reasons that you can imagine. So knowing surroundings. I remember when I got my first office outside of the home, and I remember when I invested to become a member of the university club to be able to use their facilities, right? And it's evolved for me over the years, but knowing your surroundings is a part of it. Facilities management, making sure there's water, making sure the lights are on, making sure it's a comfortable experience. Can people find parking? All of those things. That's a consideration in your business. And then we got out of operations into finance a couple weeks ago. So there's 4 accountabilities that I break down in finance. As I've evolved in teaching organizational communication at San Diego State earlier this year in 2023, I thought it was important to add 2 more accountabilities to my org chart 101. I'm reviewing 12 of them here in this book with you guys, but I've also added a 5th department called compliance, where we have the accountabilities of legal and HR. That's not a part of this book. We're just keeping it very basic, thinking about coaches building their practice, coaches, aspiring and emerging coaches. Let's get these 12 covered first. And most solopreneurs that I know don't have in-house counsel or in-house dedicated HR professional, right? We have to do all of that ourselves or stay out of trouble, et cetera, on our own. It's when we have more employees and we get to a larger size that it becomes important to have counsel on retainer and dedicated HR professionals. There's a ratio of 1 HR professional per how many employees in the organization. So most coaches don't have to deal with that. We didn't address that in the book. So 4 accountabilities in the finance department, starting with tip number 49, which is accounts payable, but I say strategic payables, because we don't want to just pay the bills. We want to pay them on a schedule that preserves our cash flow or protects or maximizes cash flow. We don't want to just pay the bills. We want to negotiate terms, right, that eliminate unnecessary expenses. Can we get a discount for paying in full up front? Will it be cheaper if we buy in bulk? We want to be strategic about paying the bills so that we drive down unnecessary expenses and we increase cash flow, which, by the way, are the same 2 goals. You got it. For strategic receivables. We don't want to just collect the money. We want to incentivize people to pay in full up front. We want to offer discounts for bundles. We want to have the payment links, and we want to make it easy for people to pay us, not difficult, complex. And we also want to make it easy on ourselves. If you're, I'm going to go ahead and say, positioning yourself or posturing as I'm the coach, I'm the expert, I'm the thought leader, I'm the transformational superpower in your life, right? And then, hello, I need to collect the money. You're also accounts payable in your business. So there's a lot of fun language if I said to a coach, hey, are you an accounts payable clerk? No, I'm a coach. Well, who collects the money in your business? Well, I do. Right. So it's part of the fun that we're having. And I don't have the book in my hands right now. I'm going to have to screen share and bring up the digital copy. But you guys, I think, understand what I'm getting at. So when we're in accounting, it's very transactional, but we can be strategic about it. We need to be strategic about how we pay our bills, and we need to be strategic about how we receive our receivables. So that gets us to where we are today, which is tip number 51. Let me go ahead and create a banner for it anyway. Tip number 51. And the name of the tip is transactional numbers. Transactional numbers. So let's go ahead and add that banner and let's throw that up there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share and I'm going to pull up the Microsoft Word version of Get a Clue in 52. Right. And thanks, by the way, to Kimberly and AJ Gupta and Barbara and Doug Frankel and Rachel and Carl and Christine, who I got to meet with last week in person. Such a lovely lady. Dan Caro, one of the most inspirational people of all time. All of these folks that you can see here that took time to write some recommendation and some praise for my coaching and how I show up as a coach and what I'm bringing to the table in this game of coaching. Thanks to all of you. And thanks again to Troy Hoffman for writing the foreword, etc. But as we scroll down here to tip number 51, we'll get there. And by the way, you can see here, I included this, right? This picture of the org chart. So all of these tips correspond to these boxes on a chart. So if you had the visual in tips past, I've gone over this thoroughly. But again, tip number 41, is it worth it? Pay the fee of feasibility. If it is, tip number 2, run it. Then we get into marketing here, operations here, where can I see a menu? And then over here to marketing, info in, info out, sales, customer service, facilities management. And now we're right here in what's number 11 on this chart, but number 51, tip number 51 overall. So let me go ahead and read it word for word for you guys, because that's what we do here in Get a Clue in 52, is we read a tip word for word. And this is interesting because in the 4 years, I'm today and next week, I will complete my 4th consecutive year of reading a tip from a Get a Clue in 52 book once a week, every week, without fail, for 4 consecutive years. I'm 2 tips away, today and next week. And this is, that's so 52, 104, 208 out of this week included, out of the 207 weeks. Out of the 207 weeks of doing this, I think this is like maybe the 3rd or 4th time that it's been just me. Usually I'm joined by Sue, and often others have come on board. So it's interesting to be flying solo a little bit today, but I believe you can see my screen, and we're here at transactional accounting or transactional numbers. I think I changed it in the final production. This is very raw. You're behind the scenes in the MS Word version before we went to production formats, final edits, etc. But maybe you can read along with me. Here we go. The 11th accountability on Org Chart 101 might be the easiest tip to write in this section, because I would bet 2 burritos that you are already meeting this accountability, that all coaches are meeting this accountability, or at least the bare minimum of what counts as meeting this accountability. File taxes. Tactically, this is bookkeeping. Documenting every line of income documenting every line of income in / credits and income out / debits, right? Reconciliations, audits, categorizations, balance sheets, and profit loss statements. Am I missing anything? I just might, because this is finally the one accountability in my coaching practice that I do not touch. In my practice, my wife is in the box that accountabilities 9 through 12 report to. So my wife is here, 9 through 12 report to her. Yes, my wife reports to me as the COO, but yes, I report back to my wife as the owner of the business. You see how this works? Just to keep everything clear. Anyway, back to the word for word. The CFO, director of finance, that alone could be a reason. That alone could be a reason not to call my coaching business a business. I digress. I'm in Vegas right now. My wife can't swing. Anyway, smiley face. If you are married and your spouse has anything to do with your business, you know what I'm talking about. So seriously, here, back to the word for word. The only work I do in this accountability is when my wife decides she wants to get around to preparing for our taxes, and I must remember what an expense from earlier in the year is, if not obvious from the bank statements and all account activity. Sometimes I must go to my calendar and remember what I did that day, what I did on that day. I hope we cleaned that up for the production. Anyway, I sometimes have to go to my calendar and remember what I did on that day. The charge was recorded, or go to emails from that day to look up receipts, but that's about it. There are advantages to having my wife do the books, such as saving money on hiring a bookkeeper and avoiding the objective scrutiny that a well-trained, licensed, or certified bookkeeper would apply to all debits in the business, parentheses. You know what I'm saying if you have ever pushed it when running a questionable expense through your business. I digress again. But the drawbacks to having your spouse do your books should be obvious, especially if your spouse has their own career, business, job, hobbies, social life, shows to watch, or anything else to do that is more attractive than doing your books. Sometimes I think I'd be better off hiring a bookkeeper, but in my 15 plus years, my wife and I as owners have not fired my wife as CFO or fired my wife as bookkeeper, because perhaps another reason I hesitate to call what I have a business. So I won't bother to ask if you're a bookkeeper and just skip to the question: who does all of the transactional accounting in your coaching business? And cue the music. 2 more accountabilities on the chart, 2 more accountabilities. I'm not trying to be a downer or pessimist. In fact, I'm trying to be such a realist that I don't even describe my own business as a coaching business. I call it a coaching practice, partly because I took my eye off the ball. Partly because even though at the end of the day, I am happy I don't have to do any of the technical work of this bookkeeping and tax prep, I know every day that this accountability is not being met the way a real business would need it. Systematic data entry, regular running of reports, timely upkeep of data, timely tax filings that avoid extensions or penalties, and many other things I'm probably ignorant to because, just like you, I'm a coach, damn it, not a bookkeeper. When it comes to this accountability, I am perhaps the closest I will get to calling what I have. When it comes to this accountability, I am perhaps I don't know what I did here. I wish I had my original book, because this obviously has to get cleaned up. But here we are, vulnerable with all of the mistakes behind the scenes, right? The MS Word version, because I forgot to bring the physical copy. But let's see if I can get through this. The closest I will get to calling what I have a business. Perhaps I am the closest I will get to calling what I have a business, because it is the only thing in my practice that runs without me. Okay, I understand what I'm trying to say here. Let me say it again. When it comes to this accountability, I am perhaps the closest I will get to calling what I have a business, because it is the only thing in my practice that runs without me mostly. And Get a Clue is structured as a C Corp. So the tax filing for it as a business entity is separate from our personal family taxes. But that's about it. To the music. You nail one down, pass it around. If you're not yet convinced from this tip that you need a bookkeeper if you don't have one, that turning your spouse into one could be a solution if it doesn't create marital communication issues as a side effect, or that ideally paying someone to tell you what you are doing wrong or cannot do anymore, all present challenges to a coaching business. The last tip in this section, which we'll cover next week, and book, will reveal a few more reasons that coaches struggle to build what I would personally feel comfortable calling a coaching business. 11 down. Ready? Is it worth it? Does it run? What does it sell? What's we know about the marketplace? What does and how does the marketplace know about us? How do we convert prospects to clients? How well do we get repeat and referral clients? Where does all of this take place? And what do you, your prospects, your clients, your vendors, your customers experience when doing business there? How are we increasing liquidity and reducing waste when we pay for the things we need? Has everyone paid us what they owe us in ways that maximize cash flow while reducing the labor hours required to get paid? And are we current and compliant with our records, bookkeeping, reporting, and taxes? And resume the music. One more accountability on the chart. One more accountability. We've taken 11 down. We've passed them around. And we'll wrap up the whole year next week. All right. So that's my jovial approach to these tips. Thank you guys for chiming in. There's normally I stop reading and I talk to Sue, or I talk to Wong, or I talk to Margot, or any of the people that have joined over the years in these live sessions. But this is a unique installment because it is the Friday right before Christmas. And what I'd like to do is just embrace a little bit of brevity. I'm 30 minutes into this thing all by myself now because I took such a long time reviewing the tips that we've covered thus far. But I want to, reach deep into my heart, find as much warmth as I can, and offer it to you and your families for your health, for your connections, for your safe and loving conversations, for your recharging. Hopefully the madness and the hoopla and the material shopping, hopefully that's not too much of a burden on you, that you really get to settle in and make some eye contact with people and get some good hugs and have some good nourishing meals and conversations and rest and recharge and get ready to optimize and actualize yourself in 2024. We have got one more tip. A week from today, it'll be December 29th. One more tip to cover. It's the last one in the book. It's the last one on Org Chart 101. It's the last in this section on practice building. Tip number 52 is going to be transformational numbers. We've talked about transactional, just getting ready to file taxes today. But there's another aspect in the finance department that's really critical for any business, which is the transformational decisions, right? And we're going to cover that next week and wrap up our year. I'm also excited to share with you guys that in 2024, the Get a Clue in 52 that we're going to be working on, that we're going to be reading throughout the year, is Get a Clue in 52 for speakers. That's right. At San Diego State University, I'm back in the public speaking classroom. I just got done teaching 4 sections of public speaking for the first time, teaching public speaking for the first time in 6.5 years. When I retired in 2017, now I'm unretired. I started off teaching organizational communication at San Diego State. And then what they offered me in the fall was public speaking. I'll be teaching public speaking again in the spring. And so now I'm part of the lecturer pool. This is probably going to be part of my identity forevermore until I die. I love it so much, being reconnected with my alma mater, making a real tangible difference for these college freshmen in San Diego State that are on their own for the first time and finding their voice and building their confidence and getting past the fear of public speaking and on and on. So it makes sense to me that this coming year, instead of emphasizing Jeff Klubeck as a coach, Coach Jeffrey, 2024 is going to be the year of, speaker, right? Speaker. I'm a speaker coach. I'm a speaker professor. I'm a keynote speaker myself, a motivational speaker. And I really have a lot of confidence in the work that I do, training speakers, coaching speakers, mentoring speakers. And so that's what the book is going to capture. It's going to capture the mentor-mentee relationship. My co-author for the project is Sue Matheson. Matheson, I'm sorry. Sue, she's not here today, but normally if you've been watching these live streams, you've seen Sue be on board as just a participant, just, soaking up all of the knowledge and dialoguing with me. But we're bringing her on this side of the stream for 2024 as my co-author on the project, capturing all of the lovely mentor-mentee work that we've done over the years and trying to invite readers in to these coaching sessions through dialogues are going to bring out the tips. It's not just going to be my voice. Sue and I are going to be dialoguing and bringing out another 52 tips for you. And what's fun about it is there are 52 tips for speakers, but there's a lot in there for non-speakers as well. So that's a little bit of a tease. That's going to be available first week of January. We haven't set a day of the week or time of the day yet that we're going to be doing our weekly live streams, but we're going to do them and you'll know about it, and we'll have the promo graphics and we'll post on social and all of that good stuff. For now, I want to say thank you so much for taking any time to chime in at all. And if you got any value here, I really appreciate. There's so many other things you could be doing, especially now this time of year. So to take any minutes whatsoever to come on board, you're thinking, hey, there could be some value there. It could be fun to hear what Jeff has to say. I hope that I've delivered for you. And I thank you so much for imagining that, wow, instead of anything else I could be doing right now, I'm going to hang out with Jeff and see what Jeff's all about. I see some eyeballs on my social media icons up here. So whoever you are, eyeballs, thank you so much for being here. Send me a message if you have any comments, questions, if you have something to add, if you want to be a guest on one of these streams that we do. Again, next year, all the tips are going to be about speaking. So send me a private message and we'll talk about your subject matter expertise and see if you want to come on with Sue and I and join the dialogue, etc. So having said all of that, what else can I do here? Last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to offer, here's my calendar link. If any of you have not had the 2 complimentary coaching sessions that I talk about all throughout the second section of the book, and then I refer to a little bit when I talk about getting over the fear and the mindset around sales. If you have not experienced 2 complimentary sessions with myself or a Get a Clue certified coach or an Integrity Game certified coach, one of the coaches that I've trained, then go ahead and schedule right there, meetme.so/getaclue, and schedule for 90 minutes. And either I will do that session myself for you, or if you've put any notes in there about what you may be looking for out of the coaching, I might be able to match, do a more direct match, a better match for you among one of the coaches that I've trained. But we're happy to offer 2 complimentary coaching sessions. I'm going to have plenty of time. There's a lot of time on the calendar next week, and it's a fun time to be thinking about 2024 inside of the 2 complimentary sessions. You're not going to get out of the 2 complimentary sessions without goal setting. So understand, if not a hope, a wish, or a dream, but goals, right? We want to specifically find out, what do you want to achieve? What's the greatest thing that you could achieve by April 1st of 2024? So if you want to have that conversation with somebody safe and somebody fun and somebody jovial, but somebody kind of world-class on this coaching game, then get on the calendar, and we're happy to set you up for a really, really, really special 2024 and offer a couple of coaching sessions there. That's just something I want to get out there to you guys. If you want to understand why we do 2 comp sessions, send me an email, info@getaclue.net, and put why 2 comp sessions. Why not 0? Why not 1? Why not more than 2? Why 2? I've got a 20-minute video of about 8 or 9 reasons why 2 complimentary coaching sessions is the thing that made the difference for me in building my monetized skill set to an income earning hobby to a thriving coaching practice. We have to learn how to sell coaching. We have to learn how to sell our leadership. We have to learn how to get engagement, enrollment, and buy-in, permission to lead, before we have any chance of being good at this coaching game. So if you want to understand how we do all of that, let us know. If you want to experience it, go ahead and get on calendar right here. If you want to experience 2 comp sessions, or if you just want to know why we do 2 comp sessions, and we can send you that video as well. Of course, I train people on how to do this. So if you're interested in coaching and leadership training, either privately one-on-one or through a program in a group, send an email. We're easy to get a hold of, and I'd be happy to talk with you about that as well. But the thing that I really want to communicate above all, like kind of the outro version of welcome. Thank you for taking any time whatsoever to be on Get a Clue in 52, and have yourself a healthy, safe, warm, recharging, rejuvenating, tranquil, healthy holiday break. I appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll see you next week for the last tip reading for this year. Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. All right, everyone, take care. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next week.